All right, I'd like to call a meeting for February 5th for the Physical Service Committee meeting, 6:30 PM. Can I have the roll call, please?
Counselor Burridge.
Here.
Counselor Vanucci.
Here.
Counselor Walker.
Here.
Counselor Gozick.
Here.
I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 16th, 2024 committee meeting.
Make a motion.
Walker and Jesse Vanucci.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Do we have any old business? See none, we'll move on to communication. Number one, Mayor Robert A. Cordino has received a request from the Oswego Harbor Festivals Incorporated for use of various City of Oswego properties for the staging and production of Harbor Fest 2024 to be held July 25th through 28th of 2024. It's an ongoing event. Been here since I've been here. And actually, it's been here as long as I've been a police officer back many, many years ago. Is there anybody that wishes anything to say on this matter?
Good evening, Dan Harrington. The only thing I'd like to say is the only thing we're asking different for this year is we're not going to be using Veterans Stage, or at least we don't really want it. We'd like to use Cahill Pier, mainly because we're getting interference with the Broadwell group across the river with the music that they put on and stuff. So we think Cahill Pier would be a better option for us. There you have the Midway, Cahill Pier, and up the hill to Brightbeck. Any questions?
See no questions. Can I have a motion on the matter? Counselor Gozick, Counselor Walker?
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Thank you.
I do
Thank
have,
you.
excuse me, one question. How much space are you gonna use on the pier itself? You know, just like a band stage, something
Yeah,
like
we're going to have a band stage there, probably, well, right close to the end, right where the stage was set up for the dedication.
Okay. Just wondering. Thank you.
No problem.
Number two, the Office of Economic Development has received a request from Trish Levine of the YMCA for permission to use public space in Brightbeck Park and Moncon Park for outdoor fitness classes from May 15th through September 15th, 2024. Anybody here would like to speak on the matter? You just state your name and you're all set.
Good evening. I'm Trish Levine. I'm the Director of Health and Wellness at the Oswego YMCA. I'm just here to request use of public space to hold our outdoor fitness classes in Moncon Park and Brightbeck Park. We've done so mostly in Brightbeck Park. This will be our 26th year of holding outdoor fitness classes. I've given the date of May 15th to September 15th, which is give or take the weather situations. Normally we don't start till June, and we usually wrap up before the middle of September. Are there any questions?
See no questions? Can I have a motion on the matter? Counselor Vanucci, Counselor Gozick.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
So you're on here again. Number three, the Office of Economic Development has received a request from Trish Levine of the YMCA for use of public space on October 5th through October 6th, 2024 at East Park, Washington Square Park to host the annual Pumpkin Festival. Another ongoing event that we've had for many years. Is there anybody here like to speak on it?
Good evening, counselors. I'm Trish Levine. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communication and Special Events, also at the YMCA. We're happy several years ago to take over this event for the community. We've been very successful in hosting this event as a fundraiser for the Oswego YMCA, an organization that next year will be celebrating 170 years in this community. We are the longest running not-for-profit in the city of Oswego. We stand on three pillars: youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. And our mission with the programs and the services that we provide to the community, we feel are vital to a healthy and vibrant Oswego. Last year alone, in 2023, we scholarshiped nearly $90,000 to families and children in the community so that they could take part in our many programs and services. So these fundraising events are very important in being able to continue that. Our membership dollars are what help with our operation costs. These fundraisers and other generous support from area businesses and financial sponsors are what allow us to continue these important programs and services. So we hope that you will allow us use of Washington Park so we can continue with this event.
Thank you. Anybody here else like to speak on the matter? May I have a motion, please? Counselor Walker, Counselor Gozick.
Counselor Burge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Going to move on to number 4. The Office of Economic Development has received a request from the Oswego City Youth County Bureau for use of a public space at Civic Plaza on March 23rd, 2024, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. to host an Easter Bunny event. Somebody here like to speak on that matter?
It's been ongoing. Believe me, we could hear you.
Does anybody have any questions about it?
It's been ongoing, right?
Yeah.
It's an ongoing event that's been going, how long has it been going on now?
Well, we did the Easter Drive for years, but it was not safe for kids, so we're changing it to just one location to make it safer.
Sounds good. Does anybody have any questions? Can I have a motion on the event? Counselor Gozick, Counselor Benucci.
Counselor Burge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
You're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. The Office of Economic Development has received a request from Andrew, I'm going to apologize for trying to get this name out, Grissom Waite, to hold the Oswego Pro-Am Fishing Tournament on July 5th through July 7th, 2024 at the Wrights Landing Marina. It's another event we've been doing for the last couple of years. Is there somebody here like to speak on that matter? I don't see anybody. We have a motion. Counselor Walker, Counselor Gozick.
Counselor Burge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
I have a motion to adjourn. Counselor Walker, Counselor Benucci.
Counselor Burge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
This time, I'd like to call to order the Administrative Services Committee. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Plunkett.
Here.
Counselor Burge.
Here.
Counselor Allen. Counselor Benucci.
Here.
Counselor Walton.
Here.
I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the January 16th, 2024 committee meeting. Counselor Allen, Counselor Vanucci?
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burge.
Yes.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Any old business? Okay, let's move on to the first item under communication. Taryn Pashaw, High Dam Hydroelectric Supervisor, requests authorization for the City Chamberlain to complete a budget amendment in the amount of $4,500 to the High Dam Personal Services account for overtime costs. I see we have the city engineer here.
Yes, I would like to request that we table this agenda item. These rates were based on our old pay scales. We've had rate changes, and by the time this gets enacted, this number may not be accurate, and so we're going to come back the next committee cycle with a more accurate number. So I'd like to request that you would entertain a motion to table this agenda item.
I appreciate you letting us know that.
Do you
Can I get a-
anticipate that it's going to be significantly higher?
Significantly is a funny word. It will be higher. I'm not sure if it'll be significant. So just some background, what the overtime is covering is responding to alarms, and in particular, keeping the units on. And so with the units being off for a number of years, there's been a lot of debris on the river bottom that has settled kind of in that eddy. As we now have 3 out of the 4 units running 24/7, all that debris is finding its lovely way over to the racks, and so the weekends have been busy. Somebody has been there every Saturday and Sunday to make sure the units don't trip and shut off to keep them on. So what we're seeing is that at least for the next stretch until that kind of normalizes, we're probably going to have a lot more responses. And that's going to roll into spring when we get the water chestnut bloom. And so hopefully, once we hit summer, obviously the units will be off as we start doing work and we go to low flows. But we're trying to get that number as accurate as possible so we don't have to keep coming back and asking for the OT. It is offset by the extra generation. If that unit were to trip and be off, that'd be $3,000 a day right now that it's off. So if you think of every weekend we send them in to keep them running, that's money in our pocket. So while on one hand we see we're going to increase our overtime, those units staying on over the weekend instead of tripping and being off are more than offsetting that.
Great, thank you for the additional information
Yeah.
and the explanation.
Any other questions? Could I get a motion to table? Counselor Walton, Counselor Burge.
Counselor Plunkett,
Yes.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
Counselor Venucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walton,
Yes.
Item number 2 on the agenda, City Engineer Jeff Hinderleiter requests authorization for the mayor to sign change order number 2 with W.D. Malone for the Riverwalk West Wall Reconstruction Project in the amount of $1,493.21. City Engineer?
All right, so one of the most frequent reasons you see me coming is for change orders as we have construction projects. Change orders, in essence, for kind of a brief training, are times where we come because we either have a change in scope of work or we have an unforeseen circumstance that requires a change in either bid quantity or bid price. This is a FEMA project from a disaster declaration, and so this is a federally funded project. They are paying for this. What happened on these is we had put in the scope of work to rehab the railings, and that rehab is based on being able to take them off, clean them up, and because they're coming off, they have to meet new code, so they have to be altered to raise their height. We had anticipated, if you've walked the Riverwalk, they have those little, I think they're called a finial, on top, the little ball that's on top. We had hoped to reuse some of those. A number of them were not salvageable by the time they took the railing apart. And so this is a bid price to replace 150 of them that we were unable to salvage. It's $1,493.21, bringing the contract cost from this change order up to $148,147.09. Counselor Cordino, when he was a counselor, trained me to read the full dollar value for your benefit. So into the record. So this is small. This work has been completed. It was one of those, the railings were off. They were at Wiltsey's shop. This work needed to get done. And so it's a pretty minor change order item, but we have exhausted the field change payment that was in the contract. So any field change orders now have to come to council for your approval.
Any questions for the city engineer? Motion to accept. Counselor Burge, Counselor Walton?
Counselor Plunkett,
Yes.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
Counselor Venucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walton,
Yes.
Okay, item 3 on the agenda, City Engineer Jeff Hinderleiter requests authorization for the mayor to sign change order number 3 with W.D. Malone for the Riverwalk West Wall Reconstruction Project in the amount of $710,218.48.
Are you glad you're sitting down? So I know that number is high, and it seems high. And with this change order, it'll raise the contract cost to $2,858,365.57. If you remember in the fall, you were likely briefed that an excavator had collapsed into the Riverwalk walkway. While they were performing their scope of work, the contractor began demolition of the existing wall. After they had saw cut the walkway, it had actually collapsed, and we discovered large voids underneath the walkway. These voids are roughly 16 feet deep, about 10 feet wide, and they happened to correlate with a number of open channels that were in that Riverwalk wall that predate the Riverwalk, that at some point in the past were not closed properly, and so they're open to the river. So over the decades, that has just been scouring. Our engineers, when they did their structural inspection after the damage, they didn't identify that scour, and so we discovered it the other way you find it, which is while you work. So we put the job on pause because we obviously no longer knew how safe the walkway was. we closed the walkway, and so through the fall, the walkway was closed while we brought in some ground penetrating radar and did a structural assessment. Once that assessment was done and we identified the scour areas, we were able to amend our permit with the DEC to fill in those holes. And then once we had a work plan approved by the DEC, because we were working in the water now, even though the water was under the walkway, we took that work plan to W.D. Malone to ask them what it would cost to make it so that this doesn't happen again. And so that's the price tag that you see. Something to be aware of, when it comes to a FEMA project, there are really two classes of projects. There's a capped project and an uncapped project. An uncapped project is a project where there's a disaster declaration, and we are authorized to fix it. And essentially, as the work unfolds, if there are change orders, there are undiscovered field conditions, or when you have a situation like this where the disaster was actually declared years ago, we're talking over 5 years ago, more damage occurred before the project could actually get started. And so FEMA, in anticipation of those impacts and changes, allows us to come back and say, here are scope of work changes that are a result of unforeseen field conditions, a continual damage that occurred during that time. And so my office and the fire department, who manages our FEMA contracts, we're working with the state and with FEMA to amend our work. Part of that is getting this work into the contract. And so this we will carry forward as a scope change, roll into the project, and this will be a FEMA reimbursable expense by all counts. From our past experience, this is pretty normal business. The other type of project for education purposes is a capped project, and usually those projects land where we say we want to improve on this, not just fix it, we want to make it something better. An example of that was the pier. So when that happens, they give you a fixed cap of a certain percentage over the damage, and that's the maximum dollar you will ever receive for that damage. Obviously, that option, you get to do something better, but if you find an undiscovered condition, well, that's yours now. So this project is of the first type, and fully anticipate working with the fire department to get this rolled into that scope and resolved. But part of that process is putting it to you. This will take care of those scour holes and stabilize that by actually bulkheading those holes off with cofferdams, backfilling and stabilizing. It'll be slow work. That's why the price is a little high, because they've already cut it, so they have to work the opposite direction and kind of build it as they go to get back to the area where the collapse occurred. We have surveyed the rest of the Riverwalk while we were doing it, and we've only identified one other area to be cautious around, and we are working on probing that now, doing some exploratory work to see what we can do before we drop an excavator in another hole.
Any questions for the city engineer? Councilor Dozick?
Yeah, thank you. Excuse me. I was just wondering if this work's gonna potentially start this spring?
So right now, the contractor has mobilized to start getting some railings down to get them to Wiltsey. Wiltsey has they were sharing with us some of their workload and asked basically if we can get some of the work in now, they'll get ahead on it and get it done for us. So you'll see the contractor will be taking railings down along the Riverwalk sections to send them out to get rehabbed. And they've committed, as long as the weather stays fair, they're going to have people working. We've had a pretty mild winter, which is letting them start work a couple months early. And hopefully, right now on their schedule, they should be done before June. Depending on the weather, that may slide into June. But by the time we demobilize, it'll be July. So we'll be out of the way of any of the fishing season next year. The Riverwalk will be stable. And as things get stabilized and railings go up, the Riverwalk will open where it logically makes sense.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions for the city engineer? Can I get a motion? Councilor Allen, Councilor Walton?
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Item number 4 on the agenda, City Engineer Jeff Hinterleiter requests authorization for the city chamberlain to complete a budget amendment in the amount of $2,340 to the engineering contracted services account for concept plans for East Side Fire Department HD dorm renovations. Chief?
Good evening. So, talking with Jeff, took a proactive approach to our dorm area at the East Side Station. Now it's an open concept floor with just, bunks, no walls. There's a partition temporary partition, accordion style partition where you can fit 2 bunks. That's at the ladies' end of the dorm room. Now we're hiring more females, and we're just taking some proactive steps to get some drawings, should we choose to do that project. So just splits the room up into 8 separate dorms. Not sure if that will be a priority. There's no law right now that says we have to do it, but it's just a proactive step, so we wanted to get some drawings ahead of time, so that's what this motion is for.
Any questions for the chief? We get a motion, please? Counselor Walton, Counselor Vernucci?
Counselor Plunkett,
Yes.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
Counselor Benucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Item 5 on the agenda, Police Chief Phil Quady requests authorization to trade in outdated equipment to Amchar and return credit to be used at a later time for future equipment acquisitions. Chief?
Good evening.
Good
This is, as the resolution said, it's outdated, inoperable equipment that we cannot sell at a public auction or it has to go through a federal firearms dealer. So that's why it's here today. That money will be in turn used to buy new equipment. This is the same business that we generally buy ammunition from or other firearms from.
Any questions for Chief Cady? Can I get a motion, please? Counselor Burge, Counselor Vernucci?
Counselor Plunkett,
Yes.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
Counselor Benucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Mayor Robert A. Cordino requests authorization for the city chamberlain to complete a budget amendment to the Community Development Services Personnel Services account in the amount of $266,924 to restructure the Community Development Office's payroll services. Mayor Cordino?
Good evening.
Good evening.
As some of you know, when we go through the budget process, we have line items for each department. And years ago, I identified kind of an anomaly in how we do things. Economic Development Office has been treated a little differently. Years ago, they would actually use the funds that they got from some grant opportunities to pay for payroll in the office. And now that the Economic Development Office is doing a little different work, and also a lot of these grants don't incorporate any type of administration or payroll. So what we've been doing for the last few years, at least since I've been around, last 8 years, is when we put together the operating budget for the Economic Development Office, we incorporate the salary into the operating budget, and then what happens is it's actually a duplication from an accounting standpoint, that they pay us, the city of Oswego, out of the operating budget to pay the employees. So it's basically going around in circles. What I want to do is, going forward, we're doing a budget amendment for this now, but you'll see when we do the budget in August for 2025, that this will be corrected, and we will no longer include it in their operating budget, and then they pay the city to do the payroll. So that's all I'm asking now, is to correct the situation for the rest of 2024. Any questions?
Very good. Can I get a motion, please? Counselor Walton, Counselor Vernucci?
Counselor Plunkett,
Yes.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
Counselor Benucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mayor. Item 7 on the agenda, Craig Rebior, Commissioner of Public Works and Parks and Recreation, requests blanket authorization to hold auctions through Auctions International when it is deemed necessary without the requirement of council approval for each listing. Commissioner?
Good evening. This is not an annual, but seems to go with commissioner terms. General housekeeping, so we can auction off our surplus equipment without having to provide you with a list and get approval every time. We will provide the list of what we are auctioning. Auctions International is the company we've been using. We've seen great benefit from using that company. It gets to a larger audience. Prices tend to go higher with more bidders. They do a 10%, I believe, seller's cost or broker's cost that the purchaser pays. There is no cost to us. They collect the money, they send us a check, we release the equipment. Any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions on this one. So a blanket authorization, and then it's when it's deemed necessary, and I guess by what criteria are you using? And it's a two-part question, and then the second half of that would be, what would be the downside of presenting us with a list ahead of time for approval? Like, it sounds like you do this on an annual basis or every time there's a new commissioner, but I think in the interest of full disclosure, it'd be nice to see the list before it just goes to auction. So I'm curious as to why we're doing this regularly.
It's a good question.
So,
I don't, Debbie, do you have an answer to that?
well, I think the bigger part of my question is, we're giving a blanket authorization for the department, right? And from a city council perspective, I guess I don't see what the advantage is of giving them a blanket authorization to just do it when they deem necessary, as opposed to coming in front of the council and showing us the equipment list that we're going to proceed forward with. I think in this case, and I'll tell you why I'm asking the question, we could be missing some opportunities to repurpose some equipment, or maybe there's some things that's not being considered by the DPW at that point in time. We would miss the opportunity to have that discussion.
We're doing auctions approximately, sorry, Deb. Sorry. We're doing auctions approximately twice a year, one spring and then usually fall. I believe in the past this has been done just to save time from coming to meetings, presenting with the list, lightening workload of the counselors, I believe was the intent of the blanket authorization. We can change that if you so choose.
Well, I mean, I guess if time's not of an issue, I'm still thinking that we're missing an opportunity by doing this. I'd like to hear from my fellow counselors, since this is my first month on the council, so based on your experiences, what do you?
Well, like the commissioner said, they've been doing it since I've been here for 4 years. It's just
Okay.
always the way they've done it. That's, Sean, you've been here longer than me.
I'll give you a few updates on it too. With the county, I do the same thing. I just have an auction, whatever you make, I go into the general fund. That's all, I mean, most of the equipment we're getting rid of is in disrepair,
Okay.
And truthfully, people are buying for parts. That's the majority of the equipment.
Councilor Burge?
I don't think that that's what the issue is here. I think where Councilor Allen is getting is, why don't we stick to what we've been doing in the past, where we come forward is, do we always do it this way, every single year, ask permission the year in advance, and then just do it the 2 times, or you guys come in every time? This time you're gonna have, you won't have to be back, you won't have to show us a list, you won't have to do anything. What you're saying is, transparency goes a long way.
Right.
And if we've been doing it, which way have we been doing it before?
My understanding is it began with Commissioner Kells. Got blanket authorization from the council to go ahead with auctions. It continued with Commissioner Rice, and then it was given to me from the office staff that you got to present this to council, and we will continue this practice. I have no issue coming with a list for prior approval, if that's how you want to proceed.
I mean, based on the information in front of me right now, that would be my preference, is be able to see the list and to understand what we're doing and have the ability to have a conversation on any opportunities that there might be.
Generally speaking, from the auction standpoint, there's no time restrictions. Once we gather the information, we gather the photos and the identification and create the list, it's just a matter of getting it to the auction site, and then they upload and they handle it from there. So we may want to move our fall one up a little bit, just so the money comes in. It gets a little sketchy, and that's kind of sketchy is not the right word. It gets a little funny when the money from the 2023 auction doesn't get delivered till 2024. We had the instance last year where 2022 money came in 2023.
Right.
Then it has to go to the general fund, and then generally we do ask for the money to return to go towards purchase of other equipment. Recently, I've been to council twice. We've turned the auction revenue into new two-way radios for the DPW. So,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's all good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to provide us with a list ahead of time, that wouldn't affect your schedule really significantly, would it?
no.
Okay.
Counselor Walker?
How if we do this? You're gonna have two auctions, you figure. Put something in our mailbox, we can look at it. If we have an issue or something, we can call the commissioner and go
Sure.
from there. How's
That'd
that?
be great.
Just have a list, put it up, what you got, and if someone thinks.
Well, that's in the resolution, to provide you with a list.
Correct.
I already, this will give me authorization to go without, you want me to hear from you directly? Is that what I'm hearing? If there's an issue,
Well,
if there's questions, I'd be happy to answer.
well, I guess we would have to amend the resolution in order to do that, because as it sits right now, it's a blanket authorization to hold the auctions at will based on their discretion without consulting or providing anything to the council. So if we could make an amendment to that, that would,
Correct. Through the chair, you could do that. Just say you can have your auction when you're gonna have it. Just
Yep.
we'll amend it in the resolution that you would send a list to each counselor and then they can go over and if they have questions, they'll contact you.
However you'd like to proceed.
sure, sounds great.
Any other questions, comments?
I think from the audience. Yes,
Oh,
Deb?
Debbie, I'm sorry. Ms. Cole?
Well, that's the idea, is we do it as needed. We don't, like, I can't tell you, I know of 2 trucks right now that are gonna come up on auction in the spring. I'm sure there's other equipment. I know there's 4 or 5 pieces of equipment out in the lot, so I'd say there's probably half a dozen right now. There's gonna be stuff we pull out of the Shapiro building, some desks and chairs and things that we, on our walkthrough, we noticed that we probably could put on auction and get some money out of. So the one in the spring, but there may be one midsummer, maybe one in the fall, so I can absolutely, we'll, if you want to amend the resolution, we'll provide the list and everyone can review it and I can come to council for approval. I have no problem with that.
Okay. Say that again, Sean?
You have to amend
You have to make a motion to amend.
you guys.
Oh, okay, yes, so I make a motion to amend this resolution to include that the Commissioner of Public Works will provide the council a list ahead of time, and they'll adjust their schedule as necessary.
Can I get a second, please? Counselor Burge?
Counselor Plunkett,
Yes to amend?
Counselor Burge,
Yes to amend.
Counselor Allen,
Yes to amend.
Counselor Benucci,
Yes to amend.
Counselor Walton,
Yes to amend.
I gotta go for the regular.
Okay.
On that amendment now, I'll ask the question to the council. Would you like also to approve the final list of the bids for the equipment? That is fallen solely on the commissioner and the garage superintendent, well, not solely on the commissioner, on the garage superintendent and the commissioner jointly over the past 8 years. Likely longer.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to approve it. I think that just being able to see it and then have that out there in the public and have the ability to have a conversation around it is what we
Absolutely.
were looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Your motion, please?
Well, hang on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't, you're behind me. I'm sorry, Calvin.
I'm not looking to complicate this more
No,
than
go ahead.
it needs to, but, and I think having a process and creating consistency is really what we're striving for here, what I've listened to. I'm mindful of procurement policy that all local municipalities must follow. I think the state comptroller is going to be much more comfortable with the list being reviewed and ultimately approved by the council. you can authorize commissioner or any other department head to review and present a list of excess property, right, that's to be submitted to an auction. But I'm concerned that, you know, we might get the ire of auditors and the state if we just gave department heads, I don't want to use the term, but I'm going to, carte blanche on disposal of property. It's really the purview of the Common Council to do that. You can ask department heads to submit that list and to approve it and make recommendations to you, but ultimately I think the authority rests with you to do that. And it doesn't sound like it's going to create too much additional time lag to do that. I mean, if this were happening every month, we might need to rethink this, but if it's a 2-time-a-year process and Craig and his team can identify that property, I would dare say that probably all of it is you're just going to approve what they've presented anyway, but to your point, Counselor, there might be some other opportunities out there that you could repurpose some of that equipment. But to be true to the procurement policy of the city and general municipal law, I would recommend that you see the list and you authorize it before the auction occurs.
Okay. So, Council President, what do we need to do? Do we need to re-amend that, or is that, can we
No,
go off of
I
council's?
can work with Commissioner Revior and his team to modify that resolution so it makes sense.
Okay.
I mean, from what we've discussed here, authorizing Commissioner and the department to present a list to the council for auctions, but again, on an as-needed basis. We'll wordsmith that and let it make sense, but I'm a little leery about just unlimited approval and decision-making.
Yeah, agreed.
That's your department.
So do we table it for now then and re-vote on this when it's
No,
when
we
it's
just made a
reworded?
motion to
I
amend.
think that we can proceed so that we get this going. I mean,
Okay.
Greg just mentioned he's got an auction coming up in the fall, or in the spring, right? You're probably identifying some equipment.
Yeah, we have a pretty good list started already, and it was brought to me, we need to get this in place so we can have our auction.
We can have this done in the next couple of days so that it makes sense. And if it doesn't, by the time of the council meeting on Monday, you can table it then. That would be my recommendation.
So we just
Okay.
amended it, right.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you for your input, City Attorney, appreciate it. Okay, so we already just made a motion to amend. I need a motion to pass. Counselor Allen? Counselor Burge?
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item number 8 on the agenda, City Chamberlain Deborah Code requests the Common Council's adoption of a bond resolution in the amount of $5,100,000 as part of the East Side Wastewater Treatment Plant Blower Project. Ms. Code? Any questions for Ms. Code? Motion to approve? Counselor Walton, Counselor Vanucci?
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments on anything? Motion to adjourn? Counselor Allen, Counselor Burge?
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Allen? Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.